right, guys, what is going on? The NFL season is officially here. Football is finally back, and we are here to return with some NFL predictions, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, man. Once again, another year of doing the weekly picks with the members of the Discord chat. And this time, this week, to opening up the regular season, we have an OG here, Josh K, all the way from the UK. Glad to have you back, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm great. I feel like I'm at a bit of a disadvantage with this thing, going first. Don't know as much about all the teams and everything like that, but they say save the best till last, but I don't think that's happened on this occasion. I think
No,
best might be there. Hopefully the best is going first.
I will see, because I'm in the same boat as you. I most of these games are just a toss up for me because we truly don't know. A lot of it's really unpredictable, but it's a very exciting time now that we're at the time of the year where the games actually matter, and we got a banger to open up the regular season, man. We got the Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs for Thursday Night Football. What's your prediction here?
I think the Ravens win. I think it'll be a bit of a revenge game for them. And I think, look, people might say the Chiefs won only 6 months ago, and yeah, that's true, but that's the big game. That's Mahomes. And I feel like last year, or the last couple of years, the Chiefs have started a little bit slower. I think they lost to the Lions' first game last year, if I'm remembering right. Um, but I do think it'll be close, fairly low scoring. I know it's two great offenses, but two good defenses as well. And I think shake off a little bit of rust, and then Ravens just edge it. So I'm going to go 20-17, Baltimore.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I do want to take Kansas City. Because, I mean, they are the favorite. They are the home team. They are the reigning champs. But, yeah, the Ravens are going to have a chip on the shoulder. I mean, this is the team that ended their season. And in my personal opinion, like, if the Ravens didn't win last year, which clearly they didn't, I don't think they ever will. So, yeah, the Ravens are going to be a little more pissed off heading into Kansas City, seeing them unravel another banner over there in Arrowhead. The over-under for this is 46.5. I think this is going to be more defensive than many people think. So, if you're a betting man, potentially take the under here, but I'm gonna go Kansas City as a safe bet. But I'm not. I never want to roll out Baltimore. Lamar coming off an MVP year. The Baltimore defense didn't really lose anyone outside of Patrick Queen, but they already had a contingency plan. They had Trenton Simpson underneath for a year, so yeah, Baltimore's still strong, man. But I'm gonna go Kansas City as a safe pick here.
Yeah. AFC North, AFC North team, Baltimore playing against Kansas City. AFC Championship rematch here. Obviously, Lamar's the reigning MVP, but the Chiefs are the reigning Super Bowl champs. Last opening game was Kansas City and Detroit pulled off the upset. So there's a huge possibility that Baltimore could very well do the same thing. However, I don't really see Kansas City losing two straight opening season matchups. I really don't. So, with that being said, I'm going to go Kansas City. I do think it'll be more defensive than this very well could be. But, you just can't bet against Mahomes and whatnot. Like you said, the Ravens have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to want to knock the team that ended their season last year. They're going to want to knock them down in their own place, but it's just hard to bet against Mahomes and company. And Kansas City just added a lot throughout the offseason. I think they look just a bit stronger than last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, Kansas City.
All right, so Josh is a lone wolf here taking Baltimore. We'll see if they win, man. It'll be a very exciting game Thursday night. We also have a Friday night game, guys, man, in Brazil, an international game. We got the Green Bay Packers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are listed as the home team here. As an international fan, Josh, how excited are you about this?
I think it's going to be really good because I think the South American fans are really passionate. They love their sports. And I think this is the kind of thing the NFL needs. I think it's something a little bit different. I'm a big advocate for London games, obviously, but I think this is something that is going to be a really fresh thing for the league. And I think the players are going to enjoy it as well, playing in front of that crowd because it's a different environment to what they're used to. And with it being early Saturday morning for me, it'll probably be the first one I stay up for and can watch. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. As for the game, I think I'm going to go Philly. Look, the Packers ended last season really well, and the Eagles didn't end so well at all. But I think now the Eagles have had a chance to regroup. I think their roster's still really strong. Um, I think they'll be one of the favourites in the NFC again, and I think the Packers, will be as well. But I think now when both teams are fully healthy and, you know, nothing's gone wrong in Philly yet, like it seemed to last year, it seemed to unravel a bit. I think they're the better team, and I think they win it 28-21. Close enough game for the most part, but I think the Eagles just pull through in the end.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be an exciting matchup. The Packers, like you said, very well season last year. They ended with a lot of promise. The Eagles are a lot better than what they showed last year, and I think they did that via the draft. They drastically improved the secondary by a lot of names. I'm going to go Philly as well. I think Green Bay is going to put up a fight. I think Green Bay, is always going to be in, a close battle with a team like the Eagles here, expressing what they did last year. This is going to be more of an interesting game for Jordan Love to see how he can feed off of his first full season as a starter from last year, how he could branch off, and if he can improve his game, if he can remain consistent, or how he could potentially fall off if he could. So it'll be a very interesting matchup in that regard. But yeah, I'm gonna go Philly here. I think they're the more favorite team, and I feel like they're gonna have something to prove this year. So yeah, give me Philly.
Yeah, this game could really be a back and forth kind of matchup between both offenses. Still pretty young, very lethal, very dominant, I would say. Hurts is still a hell of a quarterback, one of the top in the league. Though Philly's downfall last year was very noticeable, and obviously they went one and done in the playoffs, so they're going to want to try to bounce back big time. And their head coach, Nick Sirianni, he's got a chip on his shoulder because he feels that he's still the head coach to lead the team, but he will be on the hot seat for sure, I believe. Green Bay, they had a very impressive first season with Jordan Love as their starting quarterback. Enough for him to get the bag and, really get the bag. But, no, Jordan Love looked very, very impressive. I do think that he continues that. I think he does grow and improve. But as far as this game goes, it's going to be a good matchup. But I went back and forth in this one, but I think I'm going to go with Green Bay to get the win here. All the way down, international. I just think Jordan Love and company just kind of stand out, and they're throwing Philly in this one. So I think Green Bay starts off the season with a W.
Wow, so you're the lone wolf in this one while me and Josh agree. Now for this next matchup, maybe all three of us can agree, being that we're Steelers fans. We got Pittsburgh at Atlanta in the Week 1 matchup. As a Steelers fan, Josh, how are you feeling about this game and how you feel about the season ahead?
I think we said, didn't we, before we started recording, that we weren't sure about this and we think it's quite a 50-50 game. I think you've got to be optimistic, right? Because, you know, they've shown us no reason not to be optimistic so far in competitive games because obviously we haven't had any. So you've got to go into optimistic, positive. And I think the Falcons are probably an okay team to play week 1. I think if Kirk Cousins is going to have a good season, I think it might take him a bit of time to get into it after his long injury. Um, First year head coach, of course. And so I think there's every chance. Look, and I think the last few years we've really been quite unlucky with the teams we played week 1. We played the Bengals recently, week 1, the Niners, the Bills, good teams. The Patriots only a few years ago as well was week 1. We've been unlucky, in my opinion, with these week 1 teams. And I think this year we've got a bit more of a break. And that's not saying we won't lose. We very well could do. But I think if we play solid offense, we'll be able to run the ball because I don't think their D line's that great. I think we've got a pretty good chance. I think play good defense, run the ball well, and I think we'll win a close one. 23-21. I can't see it being high scoring, and I can't see it being very one-sided either. But I think we'll just pull through. I think Tomlin in these close games, you always like to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think we'll just about get it done.
Yeah, I like your mindset there, and I gotta agree. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh here, being very optimistic. It's still an unknown to me. It's one of those unpredictable matchups because we have yet to see what either of these teams are made of. Two different quarterbacks, Cousins and Wilson on two different teams starting their new stages of their career. Falcons, a whole new coaching staff with Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson as the head coach and offensive coordinator combo. I think this is going to be a game where it's going to be won in the trenches. It's going to be run heavy with 2 first-round running backs and, of course, Warren to complement Najee. I think we'll see some sparks. I think we'll see some splashes from both teams in the passing game where maybe London has a big game. Maybe, I don't know, former Steeler Ray McLeod has a big game. Maybe Kyle Pitts get something going for the first time. Maybe Muth, he had a good game against Atlanta the last time these two fought. So maybe Muth goes off. We got Pickens as well. So I think we'll see some sparks from both offenses where they can really express a lot in the passing game. But yeah, both defenses are improved from last year. So I think this will be a defensive matchup like Josh said. But optimistically, I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams are really banking on the moves that they made in the offseason. The Steelers, obviously, with Russ, and the Falcons with Kirk Cousins. Cousins is coming off an Achilles injury that he's recovering from. Him being, 36 years old, we don't really know what type of Kirk Cousins we're really going to be seeing coming off a severe injury for the first time in his career and being paid all that much money by Atlanta. We don't really know what he's going to bring to the table. However, they have overloaded and surrounded Kirk Cousins with fabulous targets. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, the running back duo, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They got on paper, a very stud offense, and Raheem Morris will be their head coach this year. It'll be interesting to see what he does with some time away from being a head coach. As with the Steelers, I don't really know what Russ is going to bring to the table. I don't know what our wide receivers outside of Pickens are going to bring to the table. I can expect the defense to obviously keep us in the game. I can see this being a very heavily defensive matchup here because Atlanta has also stacked that defense completely. They have revamped that defense with a lot of veterans and a lot of, I would say still in the NFL, some star power for sure. This game could go either way. It could really be a back and forth, highly defensive game like I mentioned, but I just don't know what type of Steelers team we're going to get when it comes to week one. Could it be like the game against the Bills how many years ago where we pulled off the upset on the road, or could it be like last year against San Francisco? Hopefully that's not the case, but I'm just undetermined on what team's going to show up for this one. With that being said, and I do hope I'm wrong on this one, but I'm going to go with Atlanta, considering it's their home opener, their season opener, and I think Atlanta's going to want to try to start the season on a hot start, but I know the Steelers are going to try their damnedest to get the win here and start their season. Their entirely revamped offense, too. Can't forget Arthur Smith, former Falcons head coach. He's our OC now. It's going to be interesting to see what he can bring to the table and how the players can execute. But like I stated, I think Atlanta just pulls off the victory.
Okay, understandable. But all three of us as Steelers fans will be all eyes on the television to see what team we really get this upcoming weekend. So should be a fun game. Should be interesting nonetheless. Next game, we got Arizona versus Buffalo at Buffalo. Could Arizona pull off the upset, Josh?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think the Cardinals are going to be a lot better than last year. I think a full year of Kyler, and I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a great rookie season. I think a lot of people expect that from him, and I think he will deliver. But I think the Bills are going to be a force to be reckoned with again. Losing Diggs might be a bit of a blow, but to be honest, I think he ended up doing almost as much harm as good. In the towards the end of when he was there, I think he was a bit of a distraction. And I think any team with Josh Allen in is going to be competitive. If you've got a good QB that elevates you, and he's one of the best. So I expect them to be good again this year, and I expect them to win this game quite comfortably, 31-20. And they make a good start.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to because they lost a lot, especially on the defensive side of the football. Now, they added a little bit through the draft, but, I mean, you're talking like a lot of household names. You're talking a lot of playmakers on that side. So maybe Kyler could express his dual threat ability. Maybe Marvin Harrison has a Marvin Harrison-type game. Just saying, maybe he bursts onto the scene. If the Cardinals want to, they can get Connor and Trey Benson, the third-round rookie, involved in that committee there. They could really entertain something like that to kind of keep Josh Allen off the field and, prevent Josh Allen from using his strong arm and connecting with Dalton Kincaid, who could be seeing a lot more time in the second year. Keon Coleman's going to have to be the one, I suppose. Khalil Shakir is very underrated. The way I see it, if the Cardinals want to win this game, they got to beat Josh Allen and the Bills at their own game. They're going to have to beat the Bills the way Josh Allen would beat teams, which is with his legs, using the air attack, just making it very hard to stop the guy. And, of course, limiting the mistakes. With that being said, week one is typically the week where we see most of the upsets, especially last year. So I'm going to go Arizona in my upset of the week. I'm going to go Arizona in my upset of the week. I'm not saying this is going to set the tone for their season. The Bills could bounce back. The Bills should still be an AFC head up, with the Chiefs and with, all them, right? With the Ravens and teams like that. But Arizona could pull off the upset week one. So I'm going to go Arizona in my upset of the week.
Now, I know it's only week one, so it's kind of really hard to tell exactly what team's going to show up. You're going to have to let the season play out a little bit, of course, to really get an idea of, what the landscape is for the majority of these teams. But as far as Buffalo goes, at least based on paper, I don't exactly see Buffalo as a strong-suited AFC team as they were previously. They've sustained a lot of losses on offense. They lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. They don't exactly have a number one at the moment. I think they would have to rely on Josh Allen's legs, probably more than they're going to need to, as well as James Cook, who had 1,000 yards, and maybe even Dalton Kincaid, their second-year tight end. Their defense, they lost a lot of star power, a lot of credible names, and they're still suffering injuries on that defense too.
True, but I think what's really going to make their defense stand out is that pass rush.
That's what's going to have to help them. That's really what's going to have to stick out and stand out for Buffalo's defense there.
That's going to have to be their standout.
But Josh Allen is a great quarterback still. He's one of the best in the league. But the thing about him is the constant forced passes and forced mistakes. And this year, I would say more so this year, he's really going to have to try to limit those. Considering he doesn't have a guy like Diggs to rely on or a guy like Gabe Davis to rely on. He's got some unknown guys at wide receiver that he's going to have to throw the ball to. So he can't exactly force the pass and just say, F it, he's out there, because he doesn't exactly have a number one as of right now. So Allen's really going to have to be careful with how he throws the ball, where he throws the ball, and just the decisions he's going to make. He's really going to have to be careful this upcoming year. Arizona has upgraded just a little bit. They definitely have some rookies that could really be the future for their team, that could really be standouts this upcoming year. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course. I could see Arizona pulling off the upset on the road. I really can.
Alrighty.
I really can. So I'm going to go with my upset of the week, Arizona.
Should be interesting. Should be very interesting to watch. The next game that will be interesting is Tennessee at Chicago. These are two teams that are going two different directions with their new quarterbacks. Will Levis for the Titans and Caleb Williams, the number one overall pick for Chicago. What's your pick here, Josh?
I think this is going to be one of those games where Caleb Williams might struggle throughout, but then because the Titans, I don't think, are that good themselves, the Bears stay in the game, and then Caleb Williams makes a really big play at the end of the game, which we know he's capable of doing. And they win it close, 19-16, something like that. Yeah, I think it'll be close and maybe a hard watch throughout, but I think he's got really special traits, and I think throughout his college career he showed that, and I think a big play right at the end of the game probably grabs all the media attention for those early slate of games, and the Bears pull out a close one. But to be honest, I don't think the Bears are maybe going to be quite as good as a lot of people think they might be, and I don't think the Titans are up to much this season, so probably a matchup I'll be avoiding.
Yeah, I don't think outside of Titans and Bears fans, there'll be many people that will tune in for this, but they'll have eyes on the media for sure, because Caleb Williams will be starting, and if what Josh has just spoken to existence actually happens, him having that clutch moment and that quote-unquote Pat Mahomes type aura, I suppose, Caleb Williams could really express that, hey, he could be a guy on the rise. He could be an NFC favorite for quarterbacks down the line. Yeah, I got Chicago here. Tennessee does not amuse me. It doesn't impress me. I think they lost more. I know they gained a lot on the defense in the defensive back room. I know they gained a lot in the receiving room, but the quarterback play is still unknown. But because of that, I'm going Chicago. I think they did a good job of giving Caleb Williams a good support system. So, yeah, give me Chicago.
Yeah, both these teams got new quarterbacks in town, Levis and Caleb Williams. They both loaded their wide receiving groups big time to really aid out their young stars, their young quarterbacks. Solid running game still, I would say. Defense, they've pretty much loaded that end right there too. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of these teams really grow and really work up with their new quarterbacks. But As far as this game goes, I think I would have to lean towards Chicago getting a win in the home opener, the season opener. Tennessee, I feel like Tennessee more so just has to prove with the talent that they brought in and a new head coach, the Bengals' former OC. And Will Levis, absolutely. He's really going to have to prove himself, coming into his second year and the talent that they brought in. Tennessee's just going to have to show that, hey, we can be an up-and-coming team. So does Chicago, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I feel like Tennessee just has to show more. But Chicago, I think they start to do that just a little bit because they're really banking on Caleb Williams. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does in his rookie year with the traits that he has and the talent surrounding him. But give me Chicago on this one. I just think they pull off the win.
Yeah, I think we all finally agree on a pick there. Next game, we got the New England Patriots starting Jacoby Brissett, not Drake May. Jacoby Brissett at Cincinnati. Could Cincinnati be looking to bounce off what was a bit of a disappointing season? What do you think, Josh?
I think unfortunately the Bengals are going to be big favourites here, and I think they have a fairly comfortable afternoon. Burrow does seem to start the season slowly. That seems to be a bit of a theme for him, but even so, I think the Patriots aren't a good team at all. Um, Maybe they've got some promising young players, but I think overall this is probably the most one-sided matchup of the weekend. And yeah, I think it's going to be a 34-10 victory for the Bengals, and it's a shame, but look, I don't think this will be much of a game, to be honest. And it sounds like Jamar Chase is going to play. I know there was some dispute about contracts and things like that, but it sounds like they're going to have everybody there, and they've finally got people healthy. So I think the defense is going to be better this year. I think Burrow's going to probably bounce back if he can play every game and or most of them anyway. And I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC, and they'll get off to a good start.
Yeah, I unfortunately have to agree. The Bengals are definitely going to have a big game here, in my opinion. I think Burrow and them are going to cook. I know they have a new ground game with Zach Moss and Chase Brown, so I don't think that's really going to cause them any harm, though, because the Patriots are still what we all hoped and dreamed for the last 20 years. So they're at the bottom of their division, thankfully, for once. So that doesn't make me want the Bengals to win, though. I mean, it's just a matter of the Bengals are going to win this game. And, yeah, going back to what you said about Burrow and them having slow starts, I think the last time the Bengals had an opening week one game victory, it was 2021. So, yeah, they've been slow to start, but the NFL kind of did them a favor here. So, yeah, in my lock of the week, give me the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see the Patriots doing too well this season as of right now. I mean, they could improve, and they sort of kind of did just a little bit. But I feel like with Jacoby Brissett, he's not a bad QB. He's just a bridge guy, and he's just going to do exactly what you expect him to do of his caliber, and that's pretty much a bridge quarterback, a backup quarterback. I don't know when rookie Drake May steps in and plays and performs, but I feel like until then, the Patriots won't be that challenging, won't be that threatening of a team. So with that being said, give me Cincinnati. As much as I hate to say it, as long as Burrow and the team can stay healthy, Cincinnati will be a very lethal AFC team. They've showed it time and time again. It's just the injuries lately have really dampened on their season and their Super Bowl hopes, but if they can manage to stay healthy, then Cincinnati can absolutely be a threat. I will say that about Cincinnati.
Oh, Burrow, when he's healthy, is the number 2 quarterback in the league. I've said that for the last 2 years now.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean, this is my lock of the week as well. I just don't see the Patriots putting up too much of a fight. Give me Cincinnati.
No, good for them, and thankfully for the next one, we got a more competitive matchup here. We got the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson is back. He is healthy for his second year. This should be a very good one, man. How do you feel about this one, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, this is the game, isn't it, that was sort of a playoff decider at the end of last year. And I think the Colts are a team everyone's really excited about, and I am as well. I think they'll be a tough rival for us this year. I think it might be maybe that last playoff spot might be between us, them, and then maybe a couple of others. So I think the Texans go into it as the favourite for that division, but I think the Colts could run them close, and I think they'll really give them a good game. I'm going to pick the Texans in a close one because I think it might take Anthony Richardson a little bit of time to get into the swing of things and see how he gets on after coming back from an injury. But yeah, I think the Texans make a good start, 27-24 winners. But I think two teams who will have very optimistic fan bases going into the season, and two teams I expect that could make deep playoff runs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think we're all excited about this one. If this wasn't a 1 p.m. game, I would absolutely be watching this. Unfortunately, it's on the same time that the Steelers play, but this is definitely something that they'll be keeping a close eye on throughout the entire Sunday matchups for red zone or whatever. So, in that regard, yeah, I'm definitely taking Houston here, but I think Indianapolis, when they had Anthony Richardson in last year for however many games he was in, he just showed that extra spark, that little bit of excitement of what he can offer. Now being on IR the rest of the season and then, developing and just maturing as a quarterback in the second year, it should be a fun watch here against a Houston defense that was mad underrated last year and added more this year. So with that being said, the over-under for this is 49.5. So it could very well be under, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those shootout battles. With that being said, though, yeah, CJ Stroud and them, I think they're going to be a heavy favorite. There's a lot of momentum going their way, and I think they are just the team to go with here. So, yeah, give me Houston.
Yeah, Richardson coming off a shoulder injury. As far as I know, he's fully recovered from it, from the surgery and healing and whatnot. He's obviously the quarterback to go for Indianapolis, and I think he only played 5 games last year, and in those games, he really showcased a lot of potential, and he's more so going to have to showcase that now, because even when he was out, the Colts still showed when they had Gardner Minshew that they were resilient and they were a very physical and tough team.
Yeah, shout out to Shane Steichen, man. He really gave the Colts that extra little push, that extra fight after everything last year.
Yeah, and with Richardson coming back, I fully expect that with Richardson now at quarterback. So I'm interested to see how the Colts do and how they play and perform. And Jonathan Taylor, if he can stay healthy, I feel like he's still a top back in the NFL, no doubt. But CJ Stroud coming off Rookie of the Year and just an impressive, one of the better rookie quarterback performances probably in recent memory. I mean, taking a team that was in rebuild mode and made it all the way to the divisional round, and D'Amico Ryans being the head coach. I mean, that Texans team is absolutely going places. And they added Stephon Diggs for CJ Stroud. That's just filthy in itself. We're talking Diggs, Tank Dell, and the other targets they got, Dalton Schultz and the running game. Like, that's dangerous. And the defense, too, is very underrated. But I can see this divisional matchup being very competitive, probably very close as well with the two young stud quarterbacks. But give me Houston here.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a fun matchup for sure. This next one could be, and it depends what type of team wants to show up with here. Jacksonville at Miami. How you feel about this one, man?
I think this will be interesting because the Dolphins always seem to start really well. And last year, the Jags started really well, and then it was at the end of the season that they sort of fell off. But I'm going to take Miami in this one, and I think it might be quite one-sided because I think it's been for the last couple of years, the Dolphins have looked really, really good for the first 6 weeks. And then slowly they get a little bit worse and get a few injuries, and then it starts getting cold and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think the Dolphins win 27-20. Not that close, but I think it's one where the Dolphins will probably look quite comfortable throughout, and then maybe it gets pulled a little close towards the end. But I'm confident that the Dolphins will start well here because I don't think the Jags roster is anything that great. I think Trevor Lawrence is a little underrated, and I think they could have an okay season, but I think they have them below the Texans and the Colts in the AFC South, and I don't think they'll be a match for Miami, who tend to start the season well.
Yeah, I agree. Something about Jacksonville just throws me off. I don't know what it is. It's not a lack of talent because they just added Brian Robinson. Christian Kirk's mad underrated. They got Gabe Davis, right? ETN's a really good back. It's just something about them is just throwing me off. Maybe it's the defense. Maybe it's the coaching. Maybe Doug Peterson isn't taking them the direction they thought they would. Mike McDaniels is definitely taking Miami the way that they want to go. And it'll be very interesting to see what he does in his next season as the coach. They showed so much firepower, so much speed. My goodness, last year. I think they replicate a little bit of that in this game. Yeah, Miami's gonna have a good one here. I think Tyreek has another big game. Give me Miami.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to go Miami here. As far as Jacksonville goes, like Dan stated, the talent is undeniable. They have very, very good talent, underrated talent at that. The offense is just loaded with that, and their offensive line ain't too shabby. The defense outside of the front seven, I honestly don't know who they have in the secondary. To me, on paper, I find that to be their weak link. So some guys could stand out. Some guys could surprise the NFL. I don't know. But I felt like the Jags last year could have been an improved and up-and-rising team compared to the 2022 season when they made the playoffs and went to the divisional round, and they didn't even make the playoffs. Like, they were very close to making the playoffs, and they just fell later into the season. So with Doug Peterson leading the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who's coming off a major overpaid contract, I must say, I really don't know how far Jacksonville's going to go. I don't really know if they're going to improve or if they're going to grow. I just feel as of now, they're just there in the middle of the AFC. They could surprise me. They could prove me wrong. I don't know. But Miami is obviously still one of the top AFC teams with the talent they got. Mike McDaniels, Tua, their quarterback, who also got a big money contract, and the talent they got on both offense and defense. Some of the guys that some of the players that got injured last year, especially on defense, they will be coming back slowly but surely. So when they come back, Miami will be a very lethal team, I will say. So give me Miami to get the win at home here.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that. This one's going to be a little bit more of a rough pick here. We got a divisional matchup. We got Carolina at New Orleans. What's your pick here, man?
It's probably my least favorite division in the league. I won't pretend to care about this game at all. This is one of those matchups where it feels like it happens about 5 or 6 times a season, and every time you're like, I don't want to watch this. Although maybe if I was featuring on the Panthers Twins YouTube channel, I'd be really excited, and we'd all be looking forward to it. But not for me. I'll go for the Saints because they're at home. 17-10 maybe, but I won't be watching, and I don't think I'll be watching the highlights afterwards either, to be honest.
Yeah, less said about this, the better. I don't know who to go with this. These are just two really bad teams that I don't think improved much. The only thing about Carolina that improved was probably their line because they overpaid for 2 guards. They picked up another receiver in Deontay. They got a new head coach. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go. And because of that, I'm going to go with Carolina. I guess, Carolina.
Well, let me say this about their division. Last year was absolutely the worst. Like, many teams were going back and forth on who was first place. It was obviously Tampa Bay, of course, but I can kind of see it being a bit of a repeat because that division hasn't really improved, I must say. I feel like all the teams haven't really improved, but as far as this game goes, I mean, honestly, I had to do a coin toss for this one, and it ended up being New Orleans for me. It's just I don't know what to expect from Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick last year. He's definitely going to have to showcase that talent if he wants to take Carolina to places. I don't know if he will, though. We'll obviously have to wait and see how he performs with the talent around him, but I'm just going to go with the Saints. I don't want to say it's a safe bet, but if I had to choose, I'd go with the Saints as a better team over Carolina at the moment. But the Saints still aren't that good of a team. But yeah, give me Saints.
Yeah, I think the same thing's going to be said about the next one. We got Minnesota at New York. These are 2 teams with quarterback issues.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, here we are again. What's your pick, man?
I'm going to go the Vikings. Yeah, the Giants are really bad, aren't they? Although having said that, they'll probably show up to Pittsburgh in a few weeks on prime time and beat us, but yeah, they're not very good at all. And I feel like the Daniel Jones experiment's gone on far too long. I think even people who aren't Giants fans are probably fed up of it at this stage. And I do feel for Vikings fans. They've had it really bad this off-season. Like, from injuries to tragic deaths of players. I mean, anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. But I think they're still the better team, and I think they will win this 17-14. That might be the second time I've picked that exact score. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think the Vikings are the better team despite everything that's happened, and I think unfortunately for Giants fans, it's another long season.
Yeah, definitely. The Giants are just an absolute dumpster fire. They're in for another downward spiral. I think this is definitely Brian DeBoer's last year. Minnesota, yeah, I mean, they've had a rough offseason, like you said, and this is a team that's unfortunately endured a lot of that in the past couple of years. Yeah, give me Minnesota. I think they have enough firepower to get the job done, and Yeah, I think this is another low-scoring matchup. Hell, I'll give you a score prediction myself: 13-10, Minnesota.
Really? I don't see this being very offensive at all. Both quarterbacks are, well, there's a reason why Sam Darnold's a backup and Daniel Jones is just an overpaid piece of garbage at quarterback. Minnesota was looking to be a team to watch for with J.J. McCarthy, but, 2 years in a row, injuries at the quarterback just plagued their season. They're just going to have to ride with what they got with Sam Darnold, whoever their quarterback's going to be throughout the season. But I'm going to go Minnesota here. There's not really much to talk about this game. The Giants are going to be in for another tough season. I don't know what's going to happen with the Bull and whatnot. I still find him to be a decent head coach. It's just the decision-making and giving Daniel Jones that extension that they did, it was just a big mistake. It was a massive mistake. So Minnesota's got more of the better team, more talented roster, in my opinion. Just give me Minnesota on the road.
Yeah, I agree here. Next game, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. This could be interesting. What's your prediction on this one, man?
I think this is a strange one because I don't think the Raiders are going to be as good as the Chargers this year. But last time these two played, the Raiders beat them like 65-10 or something ridiculous. So maybe that game will be still fresh in the minds of some of them. So I think that'll make it quite close. And this is one of those games that always seems to deliver. A couple of years ago, you had that game where it was going to be a tie and that would have knocked us out the playoffs. And then the Raiders went for it at the end with a field goal and won it. And so I feel like this is a matchup that always creates drama, even if the two teams aren't going to be. I don't think either team is a playoff team for me personally, but I think the Chargers with Justin Herbert are going to probably pull it out. You know, I think Justin Herbert is clearly the difference maker between these two teams. And I think Harbaugh's going to do a good job there. I think he's had a lot of time out of the NFL, and I think now he's back, he'll build a good roster. I think players seem to like him. And I think he'll get off to a good start. Let's go 28-20.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Los Angeles here. With John Harbaugh in there, they just have they have a coach now, in my opinion, that can literally take them to that next level. Most of their downfalls have been the coaching, for years now.
Brandon Staley, I think that was the old coach. He was just dragging them down. And Justin Herbert, I must say. Herbert's not exactly the most clutch quarterback, but, Justin Herbert has one of the more talented arms in the NFL, and he had a great receiving core, too, and now he just has nothing, I would say. I couldn't tell you who the number one is.
It's going to have to be Ladd McConkey, who was a dog coming out of Georgia. So I think he has a big game here, for sure. I think I said John the last time. It's Jim. Jim Harbaugh.
I know. I do the same thing.
I know. It's going to get a little more interesting now that they're both back coaching in the NFL. But he has proven that he can coach a team to the championship. So, yeah, I think Los Angeles is in good hands. I think Herbert has a good coach to take them to that next level. And Vegas, if they had a better quarterback, maybe I'd take them, but they don't. So, yeah, give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't think this game's going to be like the 2022 finale where it was almost a tie and gave all us Steelers fans a heart attack.
Don't remind me.
But Vegas, they still have Pierce as the permanent head coach, and what he did, he really brought them to a more competitive looking team, I would say, But now Gardner Minshew's the guy in town. He's the quarterback to go with. I don't think they really go far with him. I really don't think that they're going to be that threatening of a team with him as quarterback. But with Pierce as a head coach, I know the Raiders, and they usually always are, but now with Pierce and the mentality he brings, they're going to be a very physical and competitive and tough team for sure. But the Chargers, I just don't see Jim losing his first game back in the NFL against the Raiders. I don't. I just don't see him losing the game in general. I feel like he's going to want to come back in the NFL, make an impact after winning the national championship, finally with Michigan. Now he's back in the NFL with the Chargers. And the team that he has, he's doing a bit of a rebuild at the moment, which he's, no stranger to doing. Give me the Chargers to win here at home. I think Jim gets his first win.
There you go. Yeah, next game we have the Denver Broncos at Seattle. This is a Super Bowl rematch. And I believe 10 years ago, at week 1, these two teams fought in their first game 10 years ago. in week 1. So now 10 years later, they do the same. So that's a little interesting. In the same setting here, too, in Seattle. What's your prediction here?
And this was also the week 1 matchup from a couple of years ago, if you remember, Russ's debut in Denver.
Let's ride.
And Geno Smith beat them that day. I think the Seahawks are favourites. I think Denver are going to have a tough year. Their roster's not very good. And I don't necessarily think Sean Payton's as good of a head coach as a lot of people think he is. And frankly, I think he comes across as a bit of a dick. So I find them quite hard to root for, to be honest. I think the Seahawks win it. They're good at home, usually. Um, let's go 26-19.
Well,
Not too one-sided, but fairly comfortable for Seattle in the end, I think.
yeah. Well, Josh K, let me ask you quick. Are you saying that Sean Payne's a dick because he didn't trade Cortland Sutton to the Niners where Ayuk would have been a Steeler?
That is possibly one of the reasons, but also I think if you remember, I think it was at the start of last year, the Broncos had that head coach who did a really bad job. Nathaniel Hackett was it, and he came out and made some really dickish comments about it, and I thought, no, I'm not sure I can get on board with that.
Okay.
And then you had all the Bounty Gate stuff, which he was involved with all those years ago, and he's not my favorite character, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely doesn't have a good track record as a head coach. And I think that's why Denver's in the situation they are in right now and why Russ is in the situation he's in right now. So, yeah, I mean, Seattle's always had Denver's number, and that's going to remain the same. I think Bo Nix has a rough welcome to the NFL. Yeah, give me Seattle here. I think maybe this is one of those games Kenneth Walker goes off. Yeah, give me Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Payton, he's obviously a better coach than Nathaniel Hackett, of course. But, I mean, Denver, I would say they're in a more worse state than they were, when they played Seattle in the Monday Night Football debut how many years ago, Russ's debut as a Bronco. Their roster, they got a rookie quarterback. Their receiving course is
Sutton, that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. And Troy Franklin, Bo Nix's number 1 receiver at Oregon, and their defense outside of Surtain, I couldn't tell you who the hell else they have.
Levi Wallace.
Oh, boy. I forgot all about that. Well, best of luck, Broncos. Enjoy the ride. Yeah, give me Seattle here. I think Seattle gets the win here. Geno Smith, he's coming off 2 solid seasons as the Seahawks' number 1 quarterback. I think he has another solid season with the talent and the receivers he has around them. And a new head coach, that they brought in. The Pete Carroll era is over. Now they are starting a new one with the Ravens' old defensive coordinator. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can bring to Seattle. Seattle is definitely a team to keep a watchful eye out for sure, with that being said. But, yeah, give me Seattle to get the win here. I just don't trust Denver at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to have to go with Seattle as well. Next game, we got the Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns. I don't like any of these teams, but I definitely don't like the Browns more, so I'm going to root for Dallas here. Josh, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for the Cowboys, but to be honest, if we get beat before, I probably won't be as interested anyway. I'll probably just be sulking about that. But hopefully we win and I can enjoy this game because I am looking forward to it, actually. I think it's going to be a really good game, really close. The Browns' defense last year was really good, especially at home. And I can see them doing that again. I think Dallas's offense will have probably some success, but maybe not as much as they'd want. I think it's really, really difficult to call. I just don't think Deshaun Watson's got it. I think he's been crap for the Browns, as well as being a generally not a very likable guy. And so, yeah, I think the Cowboys just pull this one out 24-21 or something similar, very close, not too high scoring. And honestly, I hope that happens as well because I don't like the Browns. Not many people who watch this channel like the Browns. So, yeah, I think we're all hoping they fall flat on their faces this year.
Oh, 100%. I do not like the Browns, and yeah, I am totally rooting for their downfall and a loss here at the hands of Dallas. I don't think this is going to be the type of offensive game that Dallas could be looking for, or that many people might think Dallas will have. I agree, this is going to be a little more defensive, but in the end, Dallas comes out with the victory in Cleveland Brown Stadium. Give me Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. Give me Dallas here. It's just with when it comes to Deshaun Watson being the quarterback one, I mean, for some time he was never that guy that the Browns were hoping that they would get when they made the trade with Houston that many years ago. And it's just because I look back at last year with what Kevin Stefanski did at the quarterback situation when Watson was hurt. This could be a hot topic, but I feel like those quarterbacks did a little bit better of a job than Watson would have if Watson never got hurt. Because the Browns were number 2 in the division. You know, I think, what was it, 12 wins I think they got with the switcheroo of quarterbacks, Joe Flacco and whatnot, right, if you remember. Stefanski is a great coach, you know. I mean, he handles adversity very well, and he can lead the team to a very solid season. It's just with Watson at quarterback, I feel like it drags the Browns, which, I mean, as a Steelers fan is a good thing. But I just feel like Watson's not going to take him as far as the Browns think that he's going to. It's just Watson's not a very good quarterback anymore, in my opinion. But Dallas, they are still a solid team on paper, though they have made some changes. You know, they don't exactly have a true running back one at the moment. I think Rico, well, how do you pronounce his last name?
Dowdle.
Yeah, whatever. I think he's a running back one, if not Elliott, which, I mean, he's not exactly Zeke anymore. It's just Dallas doesn't look like, they still look like a solid team on paper for the regular season, but not as strong as they were last year, in my opinion. But give me Dallas to get the win here. I just don't think Cleveland is
Good?
Yeah. Their defense is, but their offense may be hindered due to Watson's quarterback play, in my opinion, or at least until Nick Chubb comes back, whenever that is.
Right. But moving on.
Maybe he won't. You never know.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know how bad that injury is.
yeah, isn't he still on the PUP list?
Yeah, for at least 4 weeks, and then I mean, wouldn't it be? I mean, it's not ideal playing against him because he's so good. But I think wouldn't it be great if, when we're playing them later in the year, you have Nick Chubb and Cole Holcomb going against each other? I think that'd be something that both fan bases could get on board with.
Absolutely, that'd be a great little story that you honestly can't even write. You know, it's just the nature of how it happened. So yeah, I think that'd be great. So I mean, we'll see when that time comes. I think that would be something enjoyable to watch for sure. Next game, we got the Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Bucks. What's your prediction here?
I'll take the Bucks. I think they're pretty good. Again, maybe not good enough to be considered a challenger in the NFC, but I still think they're the best. They're the best team in that division, and Baker's really grown on me recently. Probably because he's left the Browns. I used to think he was a bit cocky and unlikable, and he still is. But I'm starting to like the guy quite a bit, and I think he's done a pretty good job there. And I think it might be a bit of a baptism of fire for Jaden Daniels. I think the Bucks have a pretty decent defense, and I think Jaden Daniels' skill set might not initially translate because a lot of his college success was built on athleticism, and I think he'll really need to hone in on his decision making and just get used to the speed of the NFL, really. And I think that might take him a bit of time. So I'll take the Bucks here. I think probably a reasonably low scoring game, but 23-7. I think it might be a tough day for the Commanders offense.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels' first game, yeah, he might get welcomed really roughly because, yeah, Tampa's defense is really good. It kind of kept them in a lot of games. And like you said, so did Baker, dude. Like, when he got traded to the Rams and he had that really, really hilarious two-minute offensive comeback versus, I think it was the Raiders on Monday night. Yep. And then he signed with the Bucks. He was their starter. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just a different energy. I have a newfound respect for Baker. He's matured, and Tampa's going all in with him because they're able to retain Evans and Winfield and a lot of guys, right? So Rashid White's coming off of a 1,000-yard season, so he's underrated, so he'll get some playing time as well. Yeah, I got Tampa. This will definitely be one of the games I have on multi-stream on my Sunday ticket because I do want to see how Jaden Daniels does in his first game. But either way, I think Tampa's just a better team, and it'll take Daniels a couple weeks to kind of get accustomed to the speed. So, yeah, give me Tampa Bay.
I do look forward to see how Jaden Daniels does in his rookie season because I felt like he was the top quarterback prospect coming out of this recent draft class. I just felt like with his athleticism and his dual threat ability as a passer and as a runner and just his arm talent was very good. And and the talent that he's got around him. Scary Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey, he's a guy that's going to be in development, right? And, new head coach Dan Quinn, it's going to be interesting to see what Dan Quinn can bring out of Jaden Daniels and that defense as well with what Washington is dealing with. Washington's definitely in a rebuild phase. They're definitely a growing team. It might take a bit. It might be a slow burn for the team to really grow into something, if that, for the Commanders. But they are a team to definitely keep a watch out for, as a potential riser in the NFC.
I think Washington's still trying to find that spark from 2020. Remember when they knocked the Steelers off their high horse after an 11-0 start, and then they were able to make a strong effort with Taylor Heineke as the starter versus the Bucs in the playoffs. I think they're really trying to find that spark again. It's been a couple years. They might have it. It just might not be till maybe midseason until they find it.
Yeah. But Tampa Bay, for real, shout out to Baker Mayfield, the situation with Cleveland, how that fell apart. And I think he went to the Panthers first before being a Ram and whatnot. Obviously, it didn't pan out for either of those. But Tampa Bay took a chance on Baker, and through hard work and dedication and determination, you've seen the season that Baker had, leading the team to a division championship and taking them all the way to the divisional round. Baker, really showcased, how much he wants it. And he got a big contract in return. It goes to show that hard work really does pay off. And, with the contract, Baker's going to have to continue to show that now more than ever, in my opinion. He's going to have to work even harder and be more dedicated as the QB1 for Tampa Bay with Mike Evans back and, the defensive talent that they all brought back. Because they had a plethora of free agents, if you remember, and they were able to bring back the majority, if not all, of the free agents. So Tampa Bay is definitely still a team that's going to be a type of team that can push. I don't know how far they go. Baker's not, throughout, the hard work that Baker has and has shown, he's not exactly the most clutch or reliable quarterback in comeback situations, but Tampa Bay can still be a team that can push for a playoff spot, in my opinion, this season. But as far as this game goes, give me Tampa Bay to get the win here.
Yeah, I think we all think Tampa Bay is going to be the favorite in that division. So we'll see how they start off the season. Los Angeles at Detroit, Sunday Night Football. This is an identical rematch from the wild card game. Matthew Stafford comes home again. This will be very interesting. How do you feel about this one, Josh?
Well, the matchup in the playoffs between these two last year was one of my favorite games of the season. That was a great game, and I think it's possibly going to go similar. I think the Rams are good, but I don't think it can be understated how much of a loss Aaron Donald's going to be. He's arguably the best defensive player ever, certainly since I've been watching anyway. He's just going to be such a big loss on the defense, and I think that Lions offense is going to be really, really good again. So hopefully it'll be a big night for Jahmyr Gibbs. He's in my fantasy team, and yeah, I do fancy the Lions. I think Matt Stafford will be really motivated and he'll want to go in and play well, and I hope he does. But yeah, I think the Lions will pull it out. 34-28, a really good game, but I don't think the Rams defense are going to have enough to stop them on this occasion.
No, yeah, you're right. That loss of AD is going to be very missed. I know they went super heavy on the defense in the draft. They got Jared Verse, they got Brandon Fisk in the first two picks, right? So that could make up for the loss, but those two combined can never make up for Aaron Donald.
No, nobody will.
It'll be interesting to see how that comes about, though. But with that being said, this is going to be another competitive matchup. This is going to be very similar to the wild card game. So with that said, I'm going to go with Detroit here. They're the better team. They're just coming off a complete incredible season that had a heartbreaking end because Dan Campbell got in his head just a little bit too much. So I think they've improved, though. I think they've improved as a team. They got a little more experience. They got a little more to fight for. Like, last year was kind of the story. Last year was kind of that, hey, we've arrived. This year's really like that push. And I think they're going to have a strong bout here. Give me the Lions.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Give me Detroit here. Last year's game was very must-see. It was a very entertaining game as well. Stafford and his return to Detroit for a second time since being a Ram and whatnot. But now Detroit's a legitimate NFC contender. After what happened last year, they're going to have a massive chip on their shoulder. Goff's going to have a massive chip on his shoulder. Dan Campbell's going to have a massive chip on his shoulder, as well as the rookies that stood out: Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, and whatnot. They're just only going to get better. They're going to be anchors of that team at their respective positions, as well as the star players they already have and are going to keep around, because Detroit's a team that's not to mess around with one bit. And the Rams, they had a very impressive season. Some stars really stood out: Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. They really pushed the Rams into a really solid team with Stafford coming back. And Stafford at his age, I still feel like he's a very reliable quarterback as long as he can get the ball to the guys that he needs to get them to.
Well, Stafford's still a guy that can rally a team, and I think he's fully healthy this time around.
Yeah, the Rams are still going to be a good team as long as Stafford is good to go. But as far as this game goes, I mean, it's hard to bet against Detroit on this one for real. So give me the Lions to get the win here on Sunday night.
Yeah, this would be a very intense watch for a lot of reasons. One reason for me personally, now because you mentioned fantasy, I have Gibbs and Puka on the same team. So those two need to win me. They need to come in clutch Sunday night. Por favor. That would be a very intense watch. Another game that will be a great watch: Monday Night Football to close out Week 1. We have the New York Jets at San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers, can you stay healthy for more than 3 snaps? Josh, how you feel about this one?
I think he can stay healthy for more than 3 snaps. I don't think he's going to win them the game. And look, maybe the 49ers aren't going to be as good this year because they've had a lot of off-season drama, and maybe they take a step back. I think the NFC is much more up for grabs this year. Uh, but I think the Jets are kind of overrated. I think they're very dependent on whether Rodgers is good or not, and whether he's good or not. I think he might prove to be a bit of an attitude problem. Like if he thinks he's bigger than the rest of the team, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I think that could potentially be disruptive.
He already does.
I think they might start okay. The Jets. Sorry, there's an enormous fly in my room that's distracting me. I think if the Jets are going to have a good season, Rodgers is going to have to stay committed the whole year and play well. And I think I'm just not convinced at all. They just have no history of being good, no winning culture at all. And I think the Niners are going to win this fairly easily. 31-14.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Niners. Yeah, nothing about the Jets, nothing about the Jets just speaks to me. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off of a season-ending injury, how's he going to be in his second year, really, as a Jet?
And I find it interesting that he's on Monday Night Football for a second straight year.
You know how the NFL does this. You know their marketing. You know exactly what they're going with.
Well, yeah, but seriously, we're doing this again.
Yeah, they're doing it again.
You just better be glad that they're not on New York Jets turf, because that turf is probably the worst in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I know he has Garrett Wilson, who's a dog. They picked up Mike Williams. Breece Hall, I think, could be in for a really big year. He's going to be leaned on a lot with Aaron Rodgers' age. Their defense, I think Sauce is overrated. Not to say he's not good. I mean, he's very good.
No, he's great.
I would take Sauce on my team, right? I think we all would take Sauce on the Steelers. I just think he's a little overhyped. Nothing on their pass rush outside of Jermaine Johnson and Quentin Williams really speaks to me. Maybe Will McDonald. But, yeah, I think the Niners are going to have a fairly decent game here. Yeah, give me the Niners.
Yeah, for sure. It's just the Jets, they can have all the talent in the world. They could have anybody, one of the best at quarterback, A-Rod. It's just they're the Jets. At the end of the day, their reputation is what sticks out, and it's not a good one, and it won't be. I just don't trust the Jets. As long as A-Rod can stay healthy, the Jets will be a competitive team. I will say that, but I don't know. It's just like Robert Saleh, their head coach. I feel like his time in New York is slowly coming to an end. It's just he has not brought the Jets to Providence like I'm sure a lot of people in the NFL thought he would. I thought that he could have done something. He just hasn't done so yet.
That's going to be a story for this game because, yeah, he was the DC for San Francisco before he took the Jets job. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Saleh comes home.
Sure, but it's just the Jets are the Jets. You can't rely on them whatsoever. And San Fran, they're still a great team. They're still an NFC contender. reigning NFC champs. They just made the Ayuk contract deal. They're going to try Trent Williams. I don't know if they do it before the game. They could use him, absolutely. Probably the best left tackle in the NFL still at his age, but they still got a great offense, great defense, and I think they're going to welcome Salah back home and A-Rod to San Francisco, which he should have been. That's the story throughout A-Rod's career. Like, hey, he could have been a 49er, but they took Alex Smith. And plus, his history against the 49ers is just never good. He can never beat the 49ers. If you remember.
Yeah, and growing up as a Niners fan, that's hilarious.
He just can't do it. So, yeah, give me the 49ers. They're the team that I feel like is going to win. I feel like this is the game that's going to cover the spread for me. So, give me San Fran.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jets, but you're just not that reliable.
No, not at all. It's going to be an interesting watch. All eyes are going to be on that one. But week 1 is here, guys. The games that matter are right here. We don't have to wait so much longer till we actually be able to see some entertaining football. Josh, thanks for coming on the channel again, man. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure to split opinions and talk picks with you. Always great to have you on for another year of the weekly picks. Good luck to you in your fantasy matchups. Good luck to you against Alex in the Discord fantasy league we got. Anything else you want to say before we go out of here?
Not really. Just thank you for having me on. I was actually rewatching some of the old ones we've done over the years, and feels like I've been doing this and been in that Discord for a long time, since I was probably about 14, and here I am all these years later. So yeah, hopefully not as squeaky as I was back then, and hopefully get a few more right than I did back then. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on again. I do love doing this every year.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. You're an OG to us, so we thank you for everything. And I'm sure you'll probably get more right this week than we will. So it'll be interesting to look back at it later on. But yeah, appreciate you as always, man. And let us know you guys picks in the comments below. See you in the next week. Here we go.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!